Hi, everybody. This is Max Farrell from Dextrader.com, and I'm on a very special webinar meeting with Mr. James Looney. How you doing, James?
Doing good, Max. How are you?
I'm doing very well. If you guys don't know who James is, he is the mysterious guy I'm always showing in the videos. The guy behind the scenes of his trading with Max and doing the journal, which is always really important because I get a lot of comments on your journal keeping. So, and you're about the only one that I do show. We do have lots of other people who do them, but I have always felt safe with our conversations we've had, James, that you wouldn't mind me showing what you do, even when you have mistakes.
Sure.
So, just to fill us in a little bit, James, how long have you been trading for?
Well, Max, about 18 months ago, I decided I was going to try to explore and get into the world of trading. And so I did a lot of internet searching. And of course, like most people, I found the old penny stock pump and dump gurus. And I'm not going to say any names. There's seven of them. And most everybody will know who they are because they brag about the Lamborghinis and the mansions and all that.
Oh, yeah.
Anyhow, after about a year and a half from going from seemed like guru to guru to guru, and I'll leave the names out, and in the process, I'm buying DVDs, I'm paying for their classes, I'm paying for their newsletters, I'm paying for courses, and I try their system, and finally I was enlightened to the pump and dump scheme, and found out why I never could win. But anyway, after like I said, a year and a half of this, between paying for all the so-called education and money I've lost, I was down about $20,000. So I began to sit back and try to find something different because I was really had my mind set on doing trading. And so I had ran across you on an internet search, and I remember I'd contacted you, and you actually responded. So that was the first high point there, because any of the pump and dump artists that I had joined over the past year and a half, I never received an email from them. It was always a support tech person, more or less.
Right. Yeah.
So anyway, you had contacted me back with an email. I was impressed as a high point, and then we had you set up a consult. And we actually talked on the phone, and I was like, wow, okay, well that's another high point there. So I looked into it further and everything, and of course, and that was at the end of July, I believe, whenever I had first really got into it. I think I joined up with you back in April or May, but I had a lot of stuff going on at the time, so I couldn't really dedicate a lot of time. Well, now I'm at a point there in July when I rejoined with you and I got the lifetime membership. I had more time and I could dedicate, which I have since July. I have dedicated. I do sometimes do a lot of trading.
Right.
I am a full-time working professional. So I started your system, and I would do some, a trade or two in the morning before work. And then after work, I get home. As you see on my log, I kind of do a lot at nighttime.
Yeah.
And I know there's some, the program does work. But you do got to follow the system.
Follow the rules.
Yes. And I found out, and it's tough. Patience and discipline and following rules is really tough. I've been a revenge trader. I've been you name it. I have failed. Like I've spoke to you about before. I mean, I was failing. You say I was a student in learning, and maybe that too, but I just never could I could never get going. But anyway, since I've gotten over here and I've dedicated the time and I've did the work and I've followed the rules, everything is worked out. Like I've told you numerous times, I sometimes kind of wonder there at the first, am I just really this lucky,
Right.
or is this really working? Well, now after, the whole month of August, I think I did like 63, 64 trades or whatever. I think I
Mhm.
lost 3 or 4.
Right.
Well, now, and then we get into September, and already for this month, I've already done 20, can't remember, 20, 21.
Yeah.
And I've lost, I think, 1 or 2.
Yeah.
Um, so now my confidence is up. Uh, I'm quicker on the buttons.
Hmm.
I've actually I've watched and studied the market behavior on the 4 pairs. That's the only pairs I trade is on your 4 square.
Right.
And I've actually watched the behavior of them pairs. So it's kind of I mean, once you look at it so long and you do it so long, especially as much trading as I've done here lately, you can actually see behavioral patterns that repeat. And I know it. It seems crazy to me too that I don't have that many losses doing this, Max. Honestly, and it's true. Everything that I send you,
Hmm.
it just seems like I said. I don't know. I have done the work. I feel like everything's going my way. I'm
Right.
still going to go ahead and work towards that 10 contract deal. I think I'm on 7 contracts right now.
Yeah. Well,
And
we'll go over that. I wanted you to have the experience, and I'll explain to you what's actually happened to you, because you may seem like that you just like for some reason it just popped in, and why has it started working now? But there's a method to the madness. This is why we've created this system this way. Only about when I first started 5 minute trading stuff, James, there was a process that I had that I just used it for training. I just used it for training because there was so much time that you have to sit down for a 1 hour trade or a 2 hour trade to make it work for yourself and to learn that behavior. But you've seen what you've learned over the past 2 months, and that behavior that you've learned isn't just about the market. On my screen, I'm writing in that there's a process of learning the behavior for yourself first. So behavior is about how much should I trade? What should I trade? Waiting for the perfect signal, the perfect trade time. Because we always have these false positives in anything that we do. Nothing's 100%. So I started to learn that. And the less that I traded, the more money I made. Because even when I was trading 20 or 30 times a day, I would still come out at the end of the day with that same ratio of, 1 or 2 good positive trades at that $30. So even though that I was doing 20, 30 trades, I was still coming out with the same ROI, but it was crazy. I was spending so much time in front of the computer. So one thing we decided to do, James, was that we took that concept of trade less to make more, just because we add that algorithm CVG, right? Once we add that in, you can start seeing what happens immediately. So the first psychological battle you have to deal with when you're trading in this system, like you alluded to it in the very beginning, you started back in April and you just couldn't find the time, right? Because it does take time. You just can't come in and follow the signals and be like, okay, now I can make this money if I just incrementally crawl. Because there's rules, there's regulations, there's things that you follow that you have to do. And in the very beginning, I give you only 4 rules, but I think now you've applied, and we won't talk about them here, but I think you've applied a few extra rules to yourself as well, because you're seeing the behavior patterns in, you say you trade the 4 square. In those behavior patterns, the AU may operate different than the EU at particular times, and you may have to change the way that you deal with the AU the same time period that you're dealing with the EU.
mm-hmm.
Right? So the first thing of time really does come down to, you have to make the time for this. Is that a fair statement? You just can't come in and roll out of bed and be like, all right, now I'm going to take a trade right now. You have to have proper setup with the time. You have to have proper execution with the time, and then you have to have proper journal keeping. Do you think your journal has helped you realize mistakes and patterns?
Yes, sir. It has. And, I was thinking about this last night. I went on a little trading binge last night, as you can see.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm going to, even once I go live, Max, I'm going to journal every trade. And once I go live, you'll only probably see me, and I'll keep sending them to you.
Mm-hmm.
But you'll see that I'll go to 1 to 2 trades a day. And yes,
Right.
I will journal them. So if I do have loss, or if I do have something, I can look back and learn from it.
Right. Well, it's timing too. I learned a long time ago, when I journal my trades, my trading time is paced. Okay. Because I have a rhythm. So I look at my chart, I see my chart, I work on finding the signal. Once a signal proves itself, I do the trade. Once the trade happens, my congratulatory process at the end of the trade is to not look at any other new trade, not wait for something else come back to back, because I go to my journal side, I copy my pay, I take it nice and easy, I take a sip of coffee, I do, I'm high-fiving myself. I just scored a touchdown, right? So why would I? It's like if a running back took it into the end zone, he's not running to the other end zone, right? He's like, let me go score another touchdown. There's things you got to do. There's the setup, and that's the next part for me. And even if there is setups that happen that are perfect, like maybe you traded the AU and all of a sudden you get a ding on the Great Britain pound USD, I don't even bother with it, because I've scored my touchdown. I've reached into the barrel, pulled out my apple, and I'm like, this is for me. I don't need to reach in and grab 50 apples at a time, because I'm going to drop some, and this analogy is going nowhere.
That's right.
Right. But the concept is for you is that in the very beginning, you told me so many, like the horror stories that you had to go through, but you also talked to me about your own personal stuff. So the first part about being about time is set for you. Like, you have to make the time to do this. And then you have to make the time. Everybody's like, well, how fast can I learn this? Well, the actual program itself, it only took you a little while to know the rules, right? What, a day, maybe?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it doesn't take you very long to learn the rules, but it takes you time to create the behavior. You know how they say that a good habit takes about 6 months to incorporate, where a bad habit only takes about 6 days. And
right.
That's the curtail of trading. Most people, they come in and they revenge trade, or they don't value the money situation. The reason why we do the incremental crawl is because it's teaching you everything that I've given you is teaching you. Let me show you. I'll show you what I mean by everything was teaching you as you go along. We're going to go over to, I'm going to share the screen. We're going to jump over to, let me give, you share desktop. And here's James. Here's his, we're going to go back to July. Here's July. And in July, this is where James really started to, he had to start listening to some of the things I was saying, because it was at a point where, making decisions to make trades, this wasn't, it's not about the $97, because you're going to see where he's at right now, but he's learning at this point. So keep that in mind. The phase of him doing is in the learning. And when he first started, it really was down. It was at the end of July. It was the last several days of July. And you did 20 trades in 3 days or 4 days, whatever it was. And he was scalping at the time. He was still following, mistakes. These are when mistakes are made in the very beginning. Like when you're batting practice, right? You strike out when the machine's pitching to you. You don't strike. You try not to strike out when you're at the plate. But the concept for him was, he was a little bit everywhere. He was trading 5 contracts. He was doing this. He was testing. He was dipping his toe in the water to see if the water was all right. And that's where he was. And then the journal allowed me to see, okay, because this is your first teaching process here. I was seeing what your behavior was out of the box. One, I was seeing if you could follow the rules, because I'm not going to go tell you go follow the rules and do that if you're already doing that. There's no need to, right? So you got in, you followed some of the rules, you broke some of them, you made some mistakes, you started adding more contracts, you started jumping the gun a little bit. And that's when I was like, whoa. Okay, let's pull back just a little bit and let's really focus on the real scenario here. So July finished, he traded for exactly 3 days. And this was the exciting part. Even though that he traded for 3 days, he was still in positive ROI. Okay. Next month comes up. And James is the type of person, I can kind of tell already, he got in his own way before, but he was telling himself now, he started fighting himself a little bit here. And I really appreciated it because he started to trade exactly like I was saying. And he started to follow through with his intent to make it work. Okay. And we start you out on one contract because we don't need the dummy numbers around, right? Because for CVG to work, for CVG to really, really work in this system, you have to have a pure trade format, which means that if I go in and I trade one time and I do that times 20 days, I now know my risk. I know my risk to reward. I know how much time. I know everything I need to know. And then I also know that I can increase my profit by simply adding another contract. But if I go in and I trade one time with one contract, another time with 3, and then another time with 4, and then 6, and this is always unknown, I don't know how to scale at that point. Does that make sense?
You're exactly right, Max. And just I'll let everybody know, because that was part of me being impatient, right? I wanted to see that the dollar sign, my profit go up. So
right.
I tried to jump at it, but after you tamed me back there and grabbed me by the ears and pulled me back, now I see. And yes, you're right. It's how that's set up is perfect. And people and your subscribers or clients, they really need to understand that is the way to go. And I'm going to do the same thing on my live account.
Yeah, watch what happens here, because we're about halfway through this, and let me tell you right now, I'm very excited for James because, and I've seen this with hundreds of other people that have come in, and I've seen this with dozens of traders who now at that point, or that we're getting to this point, and this is where it kind of goes supernova for them. Okay, and it could go really, really super good or really super bad, and this is why this takes even more care for you to use that time feature of practicing and getting to that point. So as we developed the relationship, James started to see that the active trading itself is a fine art. You have to get to a point where you have to follow the rules, but you can't do it too much. You can't just get in there and trade it all day, because the algorithm itself will work. There will be an algorithm in there that can work, but if you choose your proper times, if you find your proper times during the day, what works best for you, you could hone in those behavioral things that James was talking about earlier into your perfect time. And when you match those two up, you have the best scenario for your life. If you avoid the news and you find this process, and James has honed that in, and he has honed it in for himself. It's not, you won't be able to go, okay, I could do the same time James does. You can't emulate that. The only way that you can duplicate it is by finding your own, right? And this is what I have to tell every single trader. There are so many different variables, because especially when you trade 5 minutes, that James could be sitting down at his computer. You're in Central Time, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. He could be in Central Time. You could be in East Coast Time, and you could both be sitting down at the exact same time period, trading the EU, and just be off one set, right? So you see like a signal comes over and you get it for one price, and maybe somebody else waits for a second and they get it at a different price, or whatever, right? You could have the same win, the same signal could fire over, or the same mentality could be there. You may take it, James, and somebody else may not, or it might be vice versa. So the timing is really down to what you make it. And then here's what you're going to see, folks, as I'm scrolling down, immediately up top, I help you design this little program up here that just tells you what your win ratio is. He traded 64 times in August, completely, 64 times. That's probably less than three trades a day. And here's one thing that James struggled with in the very beginning, and what he was saying earlier about seeing the number, right? That the number is hard to look at when you're trading one contract and you make $28 cash in your hand, right? You're like, I don't know if this is, I can't live on this, right? It's like, how can I live off, if I trade 64 times, how can I live on $28, right? How can, but I want you to look at this number. This has some incremental crawl into it a little bit as well. But even if we did the $28 times 20 days or 30 days, 25 days that we're trading, we're still only making about $600 a month. And most people are like, and this is where I get this a lot, right? Most people are like, well, I can't live on 600. I want to be 6,000, right? But
Mm-hmm.
I said, well, let's just start with 600 first. Let's talk about that second. You traded one contract at a time to get $600. We do that with CVG. We do two. We're at 12. And then it starts to click on them. But even at 600, if you took everything that it was taking for you to get to this point at 600, is this not a good living? I have somebody, literally, James, that trades about $800 a month. That's all she wants. And when I ask her, how come you don't add the other 200? She goes, I think it would take me several years of worry not to worry about that money. She goes, I like that it's a low worry on the money. She goes, I got $5,000 in my account. I only make about $600-700, $800 a month. I don't need a lot. She gets SSI, she gets all this other stuff. So her idea of success is warranted right here.
Right.
And this is what it does, is that it gives you the base foundation of what success is, and what your system is. My system and your system of sitting down at the computers, because I'm only one part of this system. You are the next part. And what I mean by that is that you have to put in that time. You have to be in front of the computer. You have to make the decision to make the trades. You have to have the good housekeeping and the proper habits and all the good stuff there. Because if you don't, my system can't handle all the negative stuff you do. It can't handle a revenge trade. It can't make up for, putting 5 contracts in that bad trade. Because what happens if you do put 5 contracts in the bad trade? You're gonna hit this trade, right? You're gonna hit that loser. That's Murphy's Law. But my main point here is as we go through and I teach you how to incrementally crawl, and then you get to the next trade, this is when it starts to really sink in. And I think a lot of people, when they get to this point, sometimes they do and I'm pretty sure you wanted to as well. You want to trade more and you want to add more contracts on and you want to get to that point.
Right. And something too that I don't know, a lot of them may not know is, when you jump up there and you jump out of that incremental crawl,
Mm-hmm.
and let's say you go from 1 to 5 and you lose on that 5 contract one, it takes you forever to make it back up.
Right. Let me show you here. And this is a perfect example because this is exactly what James is talking about. And I'm going to show you this. It's pretty cool. He has, so here's James, and this is the August 21st. Now, remember, he started in the beginning of August, and it's taken him all the way to August 21st to get to a point where he's about to incrementally crawl up. He's going to go to his first increase in trade, okay? And boom, he does, right there. 2 contracts, boom, and what happens? Loss, right? First 2 contract trade, he said, and lost in 6 seconds, right? And that's absolute, okay? So, and this is where, reality of trading is at. And so James, the old James would have probably came back and did 4 contracts here.
That's right. I'd have revenged it.
Okay. But what he did is that he did a pullback maneuver, which was he broke because he was waiting to get to about $700. I read it out. It was a little bit more, but he was waiting to get to that point of that profit margin. He set his line in the sand and then he lost, which made this drop down to, 570 something or 60 something, right? Instead of keeping the 2 contracts there and fighting that battle, he went back to 1 and edged it back up again to where it was supposed to be at. And he got there pretty quickly in 3 trades, and doing so, he was able to get back to his 2 contracts again and start the journey. Now, most people don't realize that once you get to that point of incrementally crawling up, it doesn't take very long to get, because once you hit 2 and you start going through, it doesn't take very long to hit 3. Because remember, half the time, right? If you increased it by 1 trade, you've just doubled the money that you're doing on every trade. And then once you get to 3, it really starts to move fast because now you're doing about $84 a trade. And if you get a good runner, you get some, because sometimes you can get them for like 40 something bucks. $44 I see is a big winner in some of the other side. $35. Here's a buy for 42 or 43 something. Okay, so you can get ones that jump outside the parameter, and then the sad side is that you get hit. And I know you said ouch on this one, you know, and not following the rules in gambling. And this is a mistake you made while you're being pretty proficient. So you still can make mistakes, right?
Yes, sir.
And this is what makes it so real for us, is because mistakes in demo are just that. But you begin to start to feel the relationship with the system and immediately learn from that lesson. And you rarely will make the same mistake twice. So as we scroll down, we get to the end of the month, and he finishes out his end of the month with a chance live trade with one contract and a final four on the final day of the month. And he's getting into the holiday, and he's done, right? James every day sends me what did I do here?
You're on my live tab.
I did do that too, didn't I? Hang on.
That's all right.
I got to redo. There we go. All right. I was undoing my, I could do another one in there.
I think that might be mine. No, you know what? No, I didn't have nothing on there, Max.
Yeah, no, I put it on.
Okay. You moved them over. I got you.
Yeah, I moved your 2 live trades over you've done this month.
Okay. I got
just so they could see. But then we come to September, and I want to show you this because there is a process. Remember, he left off with 4, and he started September. So now September 3rd, because we had the holiday, all that kind of stuff. Started out with 4. Now, once you get the 4, it's happening super fast right now. It's happening 4 times faster than it was when you first started. So if it took you a month, it's going to take you a week here. But with James, there was he did a live trade in there. He did a few other things. It didn't take very long because remember, he's winning $100 and something per trade. Okay. And so it comes down. Now he's on 5. And now it's happening even faster now. Okay. He even had a couple pure luck trades. He made a big mistake, made a payday. But this was a hard lesson to learn because this could have easily been 1 second in the opposite direction.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But James recovered, and we had to talk about it, and it's done. You know, these kind of mistakes are left better on demo. But if they were to happen and it was in a negative for him, it would still be a lesson that he would learn and he would take. And that's what you have to pay attention to. So I know he pays attention to the process and what he does. Now, jumps up to 6 very quickly, and it only takes a handful of trades, and he's in a 7. Now he's doing $204. From the beginning of the month, he was doing an average of about $115 a trade, down to now he's up to now, $200 per trade, almost doubling that amount. And pretty soon he'll be up to about $280 a trade. And then if he goes anywhere past that, he surpassed me. And that's what I'm really excited about, is to watch people take it even further past me. But in most cases, I mean, I see some big traders out there doing 20, 30, 40, 50 contracts. But I would suggest keeping the numbers right around the 10, because this will set you into your motion. If you need more than $280 a day, buddy, or trades or what have you, if you look at James's time today he was the 6th, but I'm going to pull in what you did on the 5th. Now, you were really active yesterday. So I won't even count the live trade.
Right.
You did about $1,500 worth of real, of trading in that process. $1,500 in a day. You times that by 20. Now you're looking at about $30,000 a month. It's no joke. And that's only at the 7. Now, but in order to be able to get to there, folks, if you're watching this, you can't be looking at this like, well, I can make 15 grand a month. James could do that now. I could do that now. But it took us a long time to get there. James, you think it was worth the time that you put in and sitting and talking to me and doing all that stuff?
Yes, sir, it was. Like I've said, this is powerful stuff. If you just follow the process and follow the rules and do the way the system is lined out, I mean, the proof is right there. I mean, yeah. Max showed the proof.
Yeah. And for all you naysayers out there for yourself, not about me. I don't care if you say that my system don't work, or if you think I'm a scam artist or what have you. You're going to have your reasonings, but most people in this industry, like James was saying too, is there is, these pump and dumpers. I like that. I'm going to use that terminology all the time. These pump and dumpers, they pump you full of good stuff and then they dump you, right? It's that if you are a naysayer to yourself, if you want to join the program, but be prepared. You step foot through that door, I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're white, black, red, gray, gay, straight. It don't matter to me. If you want to make a business, if you want to work from home and you want to build this solution for yourself, the only thing you're going to have to apply is the time. It's going to be the time. If you don't apply the time, do you need money? Yeah, absolutely. You're going to need money. You won't need a lot, but you're going to need enough to protect yourself. If you only start out with $500, you can't go in there and trade 2-3 contracts. You only trade one. And it's going to take you a month or two to really build up. Last little bit, and we'll let James off the hook here. In order for James now, because most of this is demo, okay? The idea of this is to train you. It's not just to get you to a point, well, yeah, see if it works, and then just go. He's not going to jump over to 10 contracts, okay? Because as you can see, he's going to be using one contract again until he gets to $700 profit margin, okay? And once he does that, he's going to emulate exactly what he did in demo. Understood? And this part of it, the first part is etching the good behavior in demo. And we can all do that. We can all play a great game of Monopoly. But once it gets down to putting real cash on the board, the behavior is etched. And James, my last little bit of advice to you, as you start out here, be even more so leery, okay, of how much you trade. Be so much aware of your physical mentality when you're trading here with live money, because with demo money, that money's gone. If it's gone, it's gone, right? With here, it comes with work, right? Where did you get the money to put into the account? How much could you make? It also starts to etch yourself for the future. You start thinking, ooh, you know, what if I can do $15,000 a month? Where could I be from that point? Don't even think about it, those numbers at that point. Your journey is just to get to 2 by using the system. Do the trades correctly. Do them in the proper format. Don't trade too much. And then once you hit number 2, if you get to the profit margin for number 1 and you get that 700 to where you put on 2, if you've done it once, you could do it again and again and again. Follow the rules, keep the journal going, and keep being who you are. That's basically all I have for you here for today. James, I want to hang out with me for a few minutes afterwards. So I want to talk to you some more.
All right.
James, do you think that are you, because you weren't somebody who had a lot of experience, but you think just about anybody who maybe has the time and has the effort and wants to put in the effort could make this work?
Sure, by all means. I'm not going to say it's easy or an easy system, but it's simple. It's a simple system, but yeah, you do got to work, and it does take some. Like I mentioned on a couple of my remarks I sent to you yesterday. Once you get your eyes trained on that behavior and that and them patterns and that trend, and you're quick on the button, and you'll notice as time goes by, it's easy. I mean, I'm not going to say easy. That's not the right word, but it's simple. But once you do it so many times, like I've done it over the past 2 months now,
right?
It's like it's, you know, your hand and your finger on the mouse, just like hand in hand that quick.
Oh yeah.
And it takes some training. So yeah, somebody with no experience, can they do it? By all means. Will it take some work? By all means. Will people get disgusted and mad? And say, sure. I mean, I did it. I've been there.
Right.
But it's all about how bad do you want to reach your goal?
Yeah.
And I found out too, Max, real quick, on these live trades that I do, and I don't know, and you have more experience with Nadex. My live trades, I do triple and quadruple takes before I can't jump in them as fast as I do on the demo.
Right.
I don't know if the movement's different. If it just, I mean, I'm talking about movement on Nadex. Yeah. If the Nadex live is different than the Nadex demo as far as the market movement.
Well, it is and it's not. The reality is that one is speculated by the other. So live speculates into demo, and they try to make it as close as possible. But of course, there's a lot more people on the demo side than there is there might be. I mean, we don't know what we don't know.
Right.
Nadex is really guarded on their information. We're not affiliated with Nadex at all. So we don't have access. We're not guarded by some sort of confidentiality act or anything else. So when I tell you this, I try to give you, because I always hunt out where can the thief take, right? And if they're not a thief, where can the good person sort of bend the rule? And I haven't found it yet with Nadex. And yeah, there's all this speculation. But what I do see as well is the timing that it does take you to get in. Sometimes you got to hit the button twice, because this is real money. So there are big cats in there. There are market makers in there that are there to make sure that they want to win, because you're playing against somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why you do need to take triple takes. This is why and I'm glad it does, in a way, because you're learning how to trade and spot the variances for the charting system. And one part of it is for Nadex. One of the rules is for Nadex, when you go to Nadex, you got to get the right price, you got to get the right statement. And it's the same rule that applies to live. So your trading amounts might be less on the live side due to that reason. That sometimes, because you get this battle of, one other person wants to get that same amount of contracts or have a bunch of contracts or get in, and the starting power to get in may be skewed a little. Okay, you're still going to get the prices. If you put them side by side, if you get onto the USD JPY at 1147, the other is going to be 1147. They're both going to win and they're both going to lose, right? So they're exactly the same that way. It used to be that they weren't. They were always like a pip or two off, and it was a different relationship. But then regulation came in and had them. They made them both exactly the same. In this case, what I'm stating is that you're learning all the same things in the live side, but a different psychological battle is happening. One, it's live.
Right.
Two, you're trading a little bit different system. It's a skew just a tiny little bit on the micro of being able to get into a certain trade, on a certain amount. And they're going to spot patterns differently. So, you're going to be getting into maybe less trades, but this is only going to work for your behavior. And it's only going to work for you when you get down to CVG, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if it takes you a couple extra times to get in, maybe you don't get in for the number you want to get in, or you put a working order on it, it doesn't get filled, or it normally would get filled in demo, whatever. But the concept's still the same. You're going to follow the rules. You're going to follow the process. Now, if it means that you went from trading 100 times in a month down to trading 50, well, guess what? You just have to increase your volume on your trades as you build up to that number. And it may take you a little bit longer to get there. But once you get there, you're stuck. You're in it, right?
Yes, sir.
Last little bit, and I'm going to let you go. James is to that point where he's going to be trading live. And here's my live advice, other than what we just said about, you're going to be trading a little less, and you're going to be making more. Once you get to enough, God, I keep doing that. I keep putting numbers in there. Once you get to a point where you're going to be making money, find out what your goal is per month, right? Let's just say your goal is $5,000 for the month, okay? And you get to, and you have $5,000 in your trading account. And now you add your $5,000 for making for the month, and now you got 10K, right? Most people are like, well, if I only need 5,000, I'm going to pull 5,000 out for the time period. And this is a great mentality to get into. And you could do that. You could level off your $5,000 and start over again with $5,000, right? My point is that I don't take out an entire amount, okay? I only take off 80% of what my balance is, what I need, okay? So if I'm making about 5K, I want to keep about 5K in there. But I want this to grow just a little bit. I want it to be a little bit more than what exactly I need. So about 20% more. So if I need to make 5,000, I want to keep about $6,000 in there. Does that make sense?
Right.
Because it always makes it a 50-50 when it's the other way, right? So if I need $5,000 a month and that's what I need to make, then I'm going to keep about 6K in there at all times to make it be a little bit more. So it doesn't look like I'm just cutting off half of it and then I got to start over again. I'm always in the positive. Does that make sense? So,
yes.
So if I need 5,000, then I'm starting off with 6. If I don't make my 5,000 in that month, I can always draw on that reserve, right?
Right.
And then sometimes I'll leave in a little bit more because I know Nadex is going to be around forever. I know that they're regulated and they have the money's not all dived into these offshore accounts and all that stuff. It's here in the United States and all that. I know it's real. Okay. So that's my last little bit of advice to you. When you do your first withdrawal, there's a process to it. So it's gonna be, once you do that, I want you to take that, print out that email you get and hang it on the wall. Right? It's like when you open up a storefront, you hang your dollar, right?
Right.
I want you to do that because I did it, and I got one hanging on my wall here. It was for $1,000, and it was the best day. And I'm not like other companies. I won't sit and show all that stuff out there because I want people to earn it themselves and get it and get to that point. I don't fan. You see, some of my competition that go to their bed and fan out all this cash that they just took from the bank. I'm like, that makes no sense to me. All right. Well, James, I can't thank you enough. Hang out with me for a little bit here. Is there anything you want us to say in the end?
No, sir. I think we pretty much covered it. I will say one thing. And I was told this and it wasn't one of my past endeavors, but I actually read it in a book from. So the mentality I'll take, I've been taking it pretty much with the demo, but for live, you really got to do it because you're dealing with real money. Is you need to trade like a businessman. Like, you're running a business and you're operating a business on that money. And so that's the mentality that I will be keeping in my head as I go live. Other than that, Max, I don't have nothing. I appreciate you having me on, and looking forward to getting on down the road with this live.
Well, you're on the road. So how fast you go from here is really up to you, but your success is a standard when people follow the rules and do their timing properly. And you've just been a joy to work with. So thank you very much, James. Everybody else, there's a couple of links in the video that you'll probably be watching right now. Keep in mind, it does take time. If you come on board, you get the same thing James received. You'll get the same kind of reward from being able to talk to somebody who invented the program, work with somebody who knows the system in and out, who trades it. Basically, you're going to the restaurant where the head chef is cooking and eating at the same time, right? So the food's good when the chef eats there as well, okay? I'm Max. This is Dex. Thanks again, Jane, for hanging out, and we'll see you next time. And as always, trade well.